Shalom, everybody. Breaking news from the Middle East and around the globe. Well, what's happening with Iranian drones attacking Israeli ships now? And then, of course, we have a rise in terrorism, but Israel's responding. Benjamin Netanyahu is still yet to put together a governing coalition, and there's so much more to share with all of you on VFI News. Welcome to this week's edition of the VFI News. Israelis had a difficult week, suffering terror attacks at home and on the high seas, even as the 25th Knesset, the Israeli parliament, was sworn in amidst an ongoing coalition negotiations which have hit a snag. No surprise here, I told you all the time this would happen, leading to further uncertainty and a deepening sense of unease in financial markets and elsewhere. Well, I guess we can look at the US elections and the Israeli elections and see that things are shaking and quaking all over the place. Well, that's politics for you. The story everyone in Israel, though, is talking about is last Thursday morning, there was an attack on an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman. Oman is a friendly Arab country to Israel. The Pacific Zircon, operated by a company owned by an Israeli businessman, Idan Ofer, and carrying a whole cargo of crude oil from the Persian Gulf region to world markets, was interrupted in its voyage Tuesday morning by an Iranian-built Shahed 136 kamikaze drone. Now, you've heard of these drones before at work, I believe, in the Ukraine and the Russian conflict. It means that Iran is totally involved in global terrorism, as we know. The drone of the same type has been used to such devastating effect by Russian forces attacking Ukraine's critical civilian infrastructure in recent weeks, struck the tanker amidships, causing a fire and forcing the crew to take emergency measures. Thank God the ship was held together, didn't sink, and they're fixing and repairing the damage. Israeli officials speculated that the attack was made in order to divert attention from a failed attempt by the Iranian government and its agents to assassinate an Israeli businessman in the country called Georgia, not the state of Georgia, the nation called Georgia. And this was also an attack on Wednesday, as did several other Western governments. U.S. Central Command Overall Commander General Michael Eric Kurilla also made a statement on the tail end of his fourth visit to Israel since assuming his position. Quote, "This unmanned aerial vehicle attack against a civilian vessel in this critical maritime strait demonstrates once again the destabilizing nature of the Iranian malign activity in the region," he said. "Let me also add that when it comes to global terrorism, they could care less about the environment. So it's also what I call global environmental terrorism as well." Kurilla's statement and his visit to Israel underscored the continued strategic alliance between Washington and Jerusalem amidst growing regional instability. It also comes a few days after CENTCOM announced that it had intercepted a shipment of weapons from Iran to the Houthi rebels in the nation of Yemen, another source of drone and missile attacks against American allies in the region. Speaking of missile strikes, Israeli officials expressed alarm this week following reports that a stray missile from the fighting in the Ukraine had landed in Polish territory, killing 2 Polish citizens and sparking furious denunciations from several world governments. Was it Russia's fault? Was it the Ukraine's fault? Well, I don't know that there's a final answer to this, but the Pentagon was quick to issue a statement saying it believed the incident was the result of a Ukrainian-launched air defense missile that was launched in an attempt to shoot down an incoming Russian projectile and landed in Poland by mistake. However, the incident raised already sky-high tensions, which have already sparked a sharp sell-off of assets on stock exchanges throughout the world, including the TA25, which is the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Another effect of the incidents in Poland and the Gulf of Oman was a report by multiple media outlets that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed his request to Israel to provide air defense systems to Ukraine, like the Iron Dome system. Israel has been reluctant to send offensive weapons to Ukraine as it would complicate its relationship with Russia. It's all very complicating if you ask me, which is heavily engaged in neighboring Syria and thus able to make Israel's strategic positions much more complicated if it so chose. Despite all this distressing news coming out of the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, there has also been a massive number of Jewish immigrants coming into Israel from Russian-speaking countries such as Russia itself and the Ukraine. Listen to this. Published by Ofek Israeli, the National Aliyah Promotion Company, they reported on Wednesday showing that 32,494 Russian citizens and 14,450 from the Ukraine made Aliyah so far in 2022. That's incredible. That's nearly 47,000 new immigrants this year alone because of the conflict. God's word is true. He's bringing home the Jewish people from the four corners of the earth, and right now, especially from the Russian-speaking nations. These numbers represent a 400% increase over 2021. Reports from the Jewish Agency and other organizations that assist Jews to make Aliyah to Israel, there are excellent reasons to hope that the numbers will only increase in 2023 and beyond. And that's why we at Vision for Israel are doing all we can to network together and help those new immigrants coming into Israel with food, with clothing, donations in kind, with financial vouchers, helping them and working together with others. We can make this happen. That's the right way and the best formula. Israel has been the victim of a series of terrorist attacks this past week, including a ramming and stabbing attack which killed 3 people and wounded 3 others in Ariel on Tuesday. Ariel is the main city in Samaria itself. Has a great university there as well. You need to go visit. According to security services, an 18-year-old Palestinian man named Muhammad Murad Samisuf, who was employed as a cleaner in the nearby industrial park, attacked his victims with a knife, later stole a car that he used to ram another car, killing the driver. Suf was himself killed a few minutes later as he attempted to carry out another ramming attack in another car he managed to steal. And this is something that must stop. We must get rid of terror. That's right. The IDF responded to this attack by carrying out extensive security operations in Judea and Samaria overnight last Tuesday and Wednesday, reportedly arresting several suspects and confiscating illegal weapons. These operations are set to continue for the foreseeable future. I want to encourage, though, all of you who come on visits to Israel, it has been generally safe, especially where you go visit as tourists. Turning to Israel's ongoing political drama, the 25th Knesset, which was sworn in last Tuesday without the realization of the goal incoming Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had set of announcing the formation of a governing coalition. Bezalel Smotrich, the leader of the religious Zionist party, has reportedly demanded that he be appointed as Minister of Defense as his price for joining the coalition. But Netanyahu is unwilling to grant this request, preferring to give it to Likud MK and retired IDF Major General Yoav Gallant and former Shin Bet Director Avi Dichter. Dichter was sharply critical of a speech Smotrich gave 2 weeks ago in which he accused the Shin Bet of negligence, which resulted in the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995. Other Likud MKs are also reported to be less than thrilled at the prospect of sitting in a coalition with the RZP, that's the Religious Zionist Party. This set of circumstances might explain reports that Likud officials have had quiet meetings with officials from the National Unity Party, led by the outgoing defense minister and former IDF chief of staff Benny Gantz. as well as the Yesh Atid party led by outgoing Prime Minister Yair Lapid. Isn't it interesting? Israeli politics is like a circus, and it's like spinning plates. You don't know if the plates are going to fall and there'll be another sixth election coming, or will they be laid down quietly and peacefully and we will have a governing coalition. Also causing problems for Netanyahu is the demand by Shas leader Aryeh Deri to be appointed finance minister in the new coalition, despite his having served time in prison for financial crimes. Give me a break. Legal experts say that the charge of moral turpitude, one of the many charges made against Deri in the most recent case against him, in which he accepted a plea agreement less than a year ago in order to avoid returning to prison, precludes him from serving as a government minister. Listen to this now. But Shas has a solution for that, saying that all that is needed for Netanyahu to pass a special law that would specifically allow Deri, even though he was in prison for financial crimes, that would allow him to be finance minister despite previous laws against such an arrangement. Wait, it builds up even more. Such a move would be guaranteed to be voided by Israel's Supreme Court, as well as being deeply unpopular with the public. However, Shas has a solution to that issue as well, including in their demands for joining the coalition a new law that would allow the Knesset to disregard Supreme Court rulings. It's just like we hear the same lawlessness in the United States of America. Who cares about the Supreme Court? Why have a Supreme Court? Okay. Well, once again, such a measure would be a violation of previously passed Israeli laws, as well as being deeply unpopular with Israel's long-suffering electorate. However, the increasingly strident demands being made by Netanyahu's potential coalition partners indicate that such considerations are of little importance to them. Not to be undone, the left-wing parties who will not be part of the incoming government coalition in any case also spent much of the last week squabbling amongst themselves and blaming each other for the success of their ideological opponents in the recent election. On Thursday, the Meretz party announced that its leader Zahava Galon would resign as chair of the party following the election in which Meretz failed to cross the electoral threshold, meaning it will not have representatives in this Knesset for the first time since 1992. Another Meretz official said in an interview with radio station 103 FM that in his candid opinion, both Meretz and Labor had outlived their usefulness and the time has come for a new left-wing party that would bring together the various factions for a fresh attempt at challenging Likud and its ideological allies. Don't. Another one bites the dust. Okay, so in any case, Netanyahu has set next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, as the deadline for a formation of a governing coalition, raising the stakes as well as sending a signal that denials of previous meetings with other parties aside, he is seriously considering an alternative to RZP. Wow, you could get tired from all this. And people just want to get on and work and see a healthy economy. Well, I pray that happens for Israel and for the United States and all across Europe and wherever you live in this world today. Will the increasingly brazen terrorist attacks against Israelis at home and now also on the high seas continue? Will Israel be drawn deeper into the conflict in the Ukraine? Will terrorist attacks on Israelis at home lead to an escalation with the Palestinians and perhaps a freeze on the increasingly warm relations with Arab countries? How many Jewish people are going to return to their ancestral homeland in the coming months and years? And how on earth will Israel pay for all the things that need to be done to absorb all these precious people? What effect will all of this have on the Israeli economy, financial markets, and the formation of a governing coalition in Israel? Could Israel also be headed for a sixth election? I hope not. The VFI news team will continue to monitor developments in Israel, the wider Middle East, and events around the globe. We hope to bring you information in which you yourselves can pray along with us and intercede. for Israel and the Jewish people and our Arab residents also, not only in Israel, but also throughout the Middle East. Thanks for watching, and if you appreciate this video, please give it a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also help us by sharing this video on social media platforms. Until next time, I'm Barry Siegel reporting to all of you from VFI News. God bless you and shalom.